some creative jobs maybe will go away, but maybe they shouldn't have been there in the first place.
That was Mira Muradi, Chief Technology Officer of OpenAI. She and others are at the center of what some are calling the next industrial revolution, the rise of AI. And with that rise comes a cost. Creative jobs might just be one of them. I want you to take a look at this clip of Netflix's short anime film called The Dog and the Boy. Right off the bat, do you notice anything out of the ordinary? Be honest, do you think this was made entirely by a human or made by AI? Judging by the title of this video, you probably guessed AI. You'd be right, but which part? Is it the boy? The dog? Wit Studio, the company who produced this short film for Netflix, actually collaborated with an AI artwork company called Rena Inc. to generate AI backgrounds for the film. Begrudgingly, the backgrounds looked good, like matte paintings done by a very talented group of artists, which is honestly kind of scary for a creative like myself. Netflix stated that they chose to do this due to a labor shortage, but in my opinion, it was likely to save money and exploit the system. This outraged fans and class action lawsuits against AI artwork platforms followed. But you just have to ask yourself, how did we get here? This is the story of how AI became the world's greatest artist. Artificial intelligence can be defined as the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. And the mere idea of it goes back thousands of years, with the ancient Greeks creating mechanical automatons to Da Vinci making countless inventions that moved without human intervention. But the actual groundwork for the AI that we now have today wasn't laid out until the early 20th century. At first, people floated the idea of artificial people and made comparisons of computers to human brains. But then something big happened. 1950, Alan Turing, an English mathematician, creates a test called the Turing test, an imitation game that asks, can machines think? This was the first time humans had really asked this question. Could machines and computers be intelligent? Could they become intelligent? Could they create? We would determine that they can't just yet, and it is this foundational question that would pave the way for humans to turn this question into a reality. AI is progressing fast. Just take a look at this Will Smith eating spaghetti meme video as an example. A few years ago, it looked pretty cursed, and now it looks like this. Still a little off, but how? Machine learning. If I were to sit you down with an easel and painting supplies along with a replica of the Mona Lisa and told you to recreate it, at first it'd probably look pretty far off from the original. But if you took a year and painted every single day, eventually your paintings would start to look better, closer to the original. Essentially, the same thing is happening with this Will Smith video. Of course, this is a very simple explanation of how machine learning and AI works. But what is happening is that these AI models are creating something by practicing it over and over and over again until it makes progress and looks better. There's a really great YouTube channel that can show you this process in a really fun way called AI Warehouse. One of their most popular videos is called AI Learns to Play Tag and Breaks the Game. They train AI to play a game of tag and use deep reinforcement learning to reward the AI when it does something correctly and punishes it for doing something wrong. This is a similar methodology of how other AI models are trained. An AI is given a source, and then it's trained on that source to output a result. But what would happen if that source was art? One of the first examples of this was Aaron, an AI art system developed by Harold Cohen in the 1960s at the University of California in San Diego. At first, it created abstract paintings like this one shown here. Aaron actually produced it in grayscale, and then Harold painted in the color. Eventually, Cohen developed a way for Aaron to actually draw and paint in real time on a real canvas, and would go on to create some very extraordinary pieces of art, such as Gijon from 2007. Other early AI artwork would help advance technology further, but it wasn't until the deep learning era that AI artwork really took off. In 2014, Ian Goodfellow and his colleagues at Université de Montréal would go on to develop a generative adversarial network, or GAN, the type of deep neural network that would learn to mimic input data, such as images. And then in 2015, Google released Deep Dream, which created psychedelic and dreamlike processing over images like this one. two major milestones in progressing AI artwork. And then it happened. The end-all, be-all. Text-to-image AI models. In 2021, OpenAI released a series of images created by DALL-E. It used the same framework as ChatGPT, only now the output was imagery instead of answers to your questions. A year later, on March 14, 2022, Midjourney launched its Discord server, and AI art would change forever. Midjourney is an AI artwork platform that runs through Discord by adding a Midjourney bot to your server. You can then enter in a prompt, and the Midjourney bot will get to work creating imagery and art for you. And it got to work fast. AI art started flooding social media. It was everywhere, from abstract art to realistic photos, people, fan mashups, and more. There were even accounts popping up solely dedicated to AI art, even accounts that didn't necessarily state they were AI photos. And people started believing they were real. Fictional arrest of Donald Trump, the Pope in a puffer coat. But it wasn't just fan fiction and rumors. In 2022, The Economist used Midjourney to create the front cover for one of their issues. In that same year, Charlie Warzel used it to generate 2 images of Alex Jones for his newsletter in The Atlantic, a trend where more and more companies would begin to use AI artwork. The reason why Midjourney became popular so fast, with now over 15 million users, is because it's accessible. A lot of people already use Discord for chatting with friends and for gaming, so having Midjourney work there was genius. People would already be on Discord, so there wasn't a huge barrier for entry. Plus, initially it was free in the early beta and alphas, although now it's a paid program starting at $10 a month to add the bot to your server. But nonetheless, it grew like wildfire. People were starting to take notice. And those people weren't just news outlets and people trying to spread fake controversies. People started to see AI art as a potential investment. At the beginning of this video, I showed you a clip of Netflix's short anime film, The Dog and the Boy. Upon the release of the film, it sparked a lot of controversy when they announced that AI assisted in the making of the film, specifically the background elements. Wit Studio actually goes ahead and shows how Arena Inc. ended up creating them in the credits. No specific tool was mentioned, but it was probably similar to working with something like Midjourney. Netflix stated that they used AI due to a labor shortage, but I have my doubts there. When I watched the short 3-minute piece by Wit Studio for the first time, I'll be honest, I was impacted emotionally. It follows a short story of a boy and a robot dog, with the boy going off to war. You can watch it for yourself after this video is over. And there's no doubt that a lot of talented people worked on this film. But labor shortage or not, was it really okay for them to use AI, potentially replacing artists that would have worked on creating these backgrounds if they didn't use AI at all? But then you start to wonder, did Netflix put out this short film to test the waters and see how the public would perceive the use of AI in one of their films? If they hadn't said anything at all, would the public then see The Dog and the Boy as more of a masterpiece? To the untrained eye, you can't really tell that the backgrounds in this film were quote-unquote generated. And even to someone like me with experience in 2D and 3D animation, the backgrounds hold up pretty well. To clarify, artists still had to go and touch things up after the backgrounds were generated. So all in all, this was an AI-assisted film instead of a film fully created by AI. Despite this, jobs were still technically taken away. Even if AI ends up being just a tool to speed up the creation process for Netflix or Pixar even, jobs will still technically be replaced by a new artist, artificial intelligence. A new report published by Civil Economics stated that 2/3 of the 300 business leaders who were surveyed expect generative AI to play a role in consolidating or replacing existing job titles in the coming 3 years. And 204,000 entertainment industry jobs will be significantly disrupted by generative AI over the next 3 years. One, that's a lot of jobs, making this a major disruption. But two, and what I believe is even more sinister, is that the majority of these business leaders for these corporations, like Netflix and Disney, seem to be in favor of these AI tools according to the report. And I think that's exactly what they want. The world we live in is, for the most part, a capitalistic one. Of course, capitalism has many benefits. I won't deny that. But without regulation and the oversight to protect the rights of people, then this is exactly what happens. And history repeats itself. When there were cheaper ways to make products in China and India, what did business leaders decide to do? They decided to cut domestic jobs and replace them with outsourced ones. This honestly isn't any different, except there isn't another human on the other side benefiting this time. Instead, it's artificial intelligence, the greatest artists in the world, according to these business leaders that just want to cut their costs. People like Mira Murati at OpenAI and Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix. But what's very interesting to me, and a question that has only recently been asked, is what was the source material that these AI models were trained on? We may never know how the models that Rena Inc. used on the dog and the boy were trained, but we do have an idea of how Midjourney and Stable Diffusion did it. Spoiler alert, it probably wasn't legal. In January of last year, illustrators Sarah Anderson, Kelly McKernan, and Carla Ortiz initially sued Midjourney and DeviantArt over their new AI image model called Stable Diffusion. The suit claims that DeviantArt, an online art platform, used their art to train a generative image model, Stable Diffusion, without obtaining permission from the artists or paying them for their work. The case was actually dismissed at first, which is pretty diabolical. But recently, after many months in a refiling, a judge ordered that the case will be heard and it will be up to them and a jury to determine whether or not this is true. At the time of this video, this is still an ongoing case. I'll try to do my best to give you any updates in the comments below. Similar cases have been brought against Meta, Google, and OpenAI, which begs the question, are any of these claims true, and if so, what would be a fair source to train AI models on? Just using context clues and by actually going and using these AI tools myself, it seems like these models were trained on images without permission from artists. A weird and very telling example of this is when Luma Labs launched their Monster Labs video using Dream Machine, which is a video AI model. The video, in my opinion, seems to be inspired by Monsters Inc., and at about the 57-second marker of the video, a green Mike Wazowski-looking like creature can be spotted in the left side of the frame. Luma CEO stated that this image was first generated by a user and then animated with their tools, but didn't comment on what tools were used to generate the image. It's honestly kind of an impossible feat in my opinion though. How are you going to train these tools like Midjourney and others to create images and pieces of artwork without stealing the art of others? The people in charge of these companies will tell you that their generative AI artwork was trained on pieces of art with the permission of the artists themselves, which may or may not be true, but either way, artists themselves may have not been fully aware in the first place. I'll leave it up to you though. Comment down below if you think the AI art generated by these tools was done in a completely legal and ethical way. With the lawsuits stacking up, time will only tell how AI managed to become the artist it is today. With the way things are trending, I think AI is here to stay, and it's going to play a major role in the state of our economy and our world. As a fellow creative, I hope that no jobs are lost, but data would say otherwise. Of course, AI has a super long way to go, because at this point in time, a lot of the things it generates are pretty unusable and still need a human hand to help guide it to a final product. And for the time being, hopefully it stays that way, because I don't think AI could ever fully replace human art. And if it did, it'd be a tragedy. And for those of you still watching, thanks. If you like this video, then you'll be happy to hear that I have more documentaries on the way about conspiracy, crime, and topics worth telling. So be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.